Living with Cancer SA is a patient-led organization committed to strengthening the voice of people living with cancer in South Africa. Through advocacy, community engagement, and the development of the country's first patient-led cancer registry, the organization works to ensure that patient experiences, data, and lived realities contribute to better understanding, research, and support for those affected by cancer. As part of this work, Living with Cancer SA produces a range of conversations that explore the realities of cancer beyond the clinic. What Cancer Reveals is the organization's third podcast series and introduces a new perspective on how cancer is understood and discussed. This series steps outside the familiar stories of diagnosis, treatment, and survival. Instead, it explores what cancer exposes about systems, power, data, identity, and the invisible work that patients, families, and caregivers are often forced to carry in order to survive and to be heard. Each episode invites guests to reflect on what cancer revealed in their own journeys and in the systems around them. These conversations move beyond inspiration and awareness to examine the deeper truths cancer uncovers about healthcare, society, and what it really means to live after illness. What Cancer Reveals is an invitation to listen differently, to question what we think we know about cancer, and to recognize the knowledge that emerges from lived experience. What Cancer Reveals is a podcast series that steps outside the familiar stories of diagnosis, treatment, and survival. Each episode explores what cancer exposes about systems, power, data, identity, and the invisible work patients, their families, and caregivers are forced to do to survive and be heard. This series moves beyond inspiration and awareness to examine the truths cancer uncovers about healthcare, society, and what it really means to live after illness. Welcome to the Living with Cancer podcast series, What Cancer Reveals, and we are on episode 9. Today we have Chantal Singh. Welcome, Chantal. So lovely to have you with us. Chantal, why don't you just start by sharing a little bit about your cancer journey? When were you diagnosed, and just talk us through your journey.
All right, so it goes back quite a few years. You can say around 2018 when I first fell pregnant. So initially, I didn't even know you had something called cervical cancer. I didn't know that you would do a pap smear and get abnormal cells from something like that. So when I fell pregnant and I went for my first checkup and I went for my first pap smear, the results came out, but I never got the results. So it was in 2022 when I went to a gynae, where she then discovered that I have abnormal pap smear with abnormal cells, which then ended up being CIN, which is precancerous. And she said, listen, we need to get rid of this quickly because it's quite bad. It's on the 3 already. So the quickest way is a LETS procedure. So we then performed that. I think some people call it a large loop procedure, which in her terms was a LETS at the time, which we then performed, and it cleared everything up nicely. And then I fell pregnant again. But as I was pregnant, my next pap smear was due. So we went for the next pap smear and it came back with abnormal cells again. And then my doctor said, well, sorry, we can't do anything now because you're pregnant. So you got to wait this out now. So then 9 months after, baby was born, healthy, and we then did another pap smear, which came back clear with no abnormal cells. So we were like, okay, maybe the pregnancy corrected it itself, and sometimes it can happen. So we left it as is. And then it was in 2025, it actually started in 2024, October. I started having very severe abdominal pain and I couldn't place my finger on it. I couldn't figure out what was this pain. So I went to see a specialist and I was then diagnosed with E. coli, where they then treated me for E. coli. But she said, if this doesn't resolve the pain, you need to come back. So obviously, it didn't resolve the pain. I went back in Jan. She admitted me into hospital to do a laparoscopy, it was called. So they put the gas in your stomach, they blow it up to see what's going on inside. And so we were very hopeful that we're going to get some positive feedback here and find what's going on, which was not the case. So everything came back clear and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And then in May last year, so 2025 May, I had my normal menstruation cycle. It passed by 2 weeks after, back on. And I was like, okay, now something is wrong here because the blood looks different. And I told my husband, I don't know if I'm having a miscarriage or what's going on here, but I need to go and see my gynae. So obviously I phoned her and she said, come see me immediately. Let's see what's going on. So she said, listen, let's do the pap smear. So it came back again as abnormal. And she says, okay, we'll have to go into theatre and do another LETS procedure. So she took me into theatre and I woke up thinking, this is different. Something feels different. And a little bit gross, but she stuffed me with some stuff at the bottom to stop me from bleeding. And then she said I need to come and see her first thing the next morning. So I was a little bit concerned because I was like, my gynae's never told me this. Then when I went to see her, she said I couldn't perform the LETS procedure. So I'm like, okay, I'm now confused because I thought that's what she did. And she said, no, the moment I put the spotlight on, there was a tumor and it was bleeding. So it's a spontaneously bleeding tumor that we now need to test. So she did a biopsy just to see what this is it cancerous, not cancerous, and it came back with cancer. So I think I went into some sort of shock because I had no expression. And she was like, you're taking this quite well. But the moment I left her rooms, my husband was completely devastated. He thought this was the end of my life. He was actually in tears, and to see a man in tears is quite overwhelming. So then I started crying as well because of him crying. So it wasn't even because of the news, it was just because of my husband being emotional. And then she said, well, I can't tell you what stage it's at. I need to send you to an oncologist now to, get it done properly. But from what she could see and the size it was, it still looks early. So that put me a little bit at ease, but she said it looks. So she says she can't confirm because it's not her specialty. Then I went to go and see my oncologist. I don't know if I can mention her name, but
You're
she
welcome.
is,
It's up to
it's
you.
Emma Bryant. She's in Pretoria. She is the best out of the best, really the best. So she took me in. She said, listen, we need to go and get this checked out properly. She examined me and then she did confirm. She said, yes, it is cervical cancer, but from my looks, it's a stage 2A, which means from what everything looks like, if I do a radical hysterectomy, it should get rid of everything. And then there won't be need for chemoradiation or anything else. But she's saying she can only confirm in theatre. But her first solution was do the radical hysterectomy and let's take it from there. So this was last year, June. It's now July. I'm due for my first year follow up, and so far everything has been gone. So it hasn't returned. There's been no other further signs. All my scans have come out clear. But before I went in, I had to go for extra iron infusions, of course, because she did explain there is a high risk of bleeding and blood loss. So to prevent that, she just gives us a boost of the iron first, which then prevents you from passing out or having further complications in surgery. So yeah, that's basically my story. That's how I found out.
So it's so interesting. They I often come across individuals that haven't gone through the prolonged treatment, but they've gone through the diagnosis and then you have an operation. And it doesn't make the diagnosis less or more difficult. I think cancer is cancer, right? And, and I mean, you've now had you only had one child,
I've
and now
had
you
two.
two. Okay, so you had two children. So at least you've had children. But tell me, go back to when you were diagnosed. What, and I know you spoke about your husband crying. What was that like for you? I mean, what went through your mind during that stage?
So honestly, when the bleeding happened that morning when I was at home, I immediately wanted to go to the hospital because I knew something drastic was wrong. But I just couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't figure out, maybe I was pregnant that I didn't know, that I was having a miscarriage. And somewhere right in the back of my mind, it's like something told me, but it's actually something more serious. And like you don't listen to that voice. You sort of like, no, 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 I'm not going to think something until I've been to the doctor. So it was more confirmation of me knowing that something was wrong. Like I knew something was wrong. So it was more like, okay, it was not my imagination. There's definitely something more serious happening than what I thought. And so not immediately when I got the news, but it was the same day. When we drove around, my husband had to do a few things, and I said, "Look, I'm not getting out of the car. I just like need a few minutes to myself." And I think having my husband with me helped me to process the news in a way where I felt like I had to be strong for him as well. But the moment I was by myself, then it hit me, and it hit me quite hard. I was sitting in the car and I was sobbing, 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 and I didn't know who to phone. I was like, who do I even tell? Who's going to understand what I've been through? And I literally, I was just dumbstruck. I like, there's like literally nobody I can go to, nobody I can talk to, nobody that I know of that's gone through cancer, that has to, in a space of a few weeks, do a major operation. And I think at the time as well, we really were hoping to have another child because we've got two girls. So the aim was to try and have a boy. And it's like all their dreams and thoughts just got cut immediately. And my husband and I believe that it's part of God's plan. And we might want different things, but God knows the ultimate outcome of everything. So it's not what you want to hear at the time. It's not what you want to believe at the time. You just more angry, disappointed. It's all a mixed emotion that you have to deal with, knowing that your life is being altered. And on top of that, you don't know whether you're still going to be around in 5 years' time because that's what they tell you. They say that 5 years, that's it. You're going to have 5 years. If you don't do the operation, you've got 5 years.
Yeah, and I know they play God a lot. Because
Can,
statistics, yeah.
can I ask her just to take a packet out? Look up. Can you please go eat your food? That sound like it's making a noise. Thank you, my love. If you need help, ask Auntie Belinda to help you. Not you, the other one. Thank you.
Okay, we'll just cut this part out. Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
So, no problem. So I'm just going to go back and ask just give some feedback. Um, what was I saying? You were sharing about how it
All the
alters your life
emotion.
and the doctors. So often the doctors, they mean well, but they often will give you a 5-year diagnosis to say that's all you're gonna. I mean, I got given the same 5 years to live, because they base it on statistics. But I 100% it's God's plan as to whether you stay or you go, right?
Mm.
Um, so just going back to your diagnosis, and you also said something so interesting is like, who do you phone? Because at the same time, you're trying to be strong. And then when you do phone someone, because they haven't gone through it, they don't really understand what you've gone through. So
Yeah.
it is quite a lonely journey. So what did you do to get through the next phase, going through the balance of the testing and then the operation and the outcome? What did you do to cope?
Well, another part that I didn't mention is when I spoke to the oncologist, she doesn't sugarcoat anything. So she tells you exactly what needs to be done and how it's going to be done, so that you understand that there are a risk of complications during surgery, that your bladder can get affected, and this, but she gives you details. So I think the details freaked me out a bit. So I was overwhelmed by the diagnosis and also by the procedure I now have to prepare for. And I think I had to prepare for it within 2 weeks. So I didn't really have time to process any of it until the operation was over. So then I did turn to one of my colleagues because she had similar complications. She didn't have cancer, but she also had a difficult birth. She had a lot of bleeding after birth. And because our babies are the same age, she was like the go-to person. But she was the first person I called, literally. And then I spoke to two of my other friends, and then one of my friends then referred me to you. And she said, no, she's going to speak to you and ask you if I can maybe join your group. And that's how I got introduced to the group. And I honestly never even knew there was such a support group out there, because people might not have the same cancer that you have, but they are definitely battling the same emotions that you're battling, the same thoughts that you're dealing with. Their pain is maybe on a different level, they're going for chemo, medication, they've got other side effects, but you find a family. And that's how we refer to each other in the group as well. We've basically become a family outside of the rest of the world. So nobody knows this family really exists there. And I can't tell you, like, in the middle of a night when I can't sleep, then I like literally take my phone and I go through the messages. And then you see the encouragement, the support. If you, people think it's strange, right? But if you're in a group, say there's a group of 50 people, and someone decides to call in that group, do you think anyone ever answers in a random group? No, they're like, "Oh, must be a mistake." But in this group, they answer. They know someone is going to need a voice, someone needs to speak to somebody. So there's always someone on the other side that will answer. Doesn't matter what time it is. If you send a message, you don't get one response, you get 10, 20 responses. And it's all very directed at your situation. It's not like an overall random conversation that they're just having. It's like, okay, this person is in a situation right now. They need support, they need encouragement, and this is what we're going to offer. And sometimes they even message you privately. It doesn't stay to the group. That's what I'm saying. It's like you become a family. So you actually end up building relationships and friendships with those people where they can call you, you can call them in midst of crisis, where you don't know which way to turn, when you feel depression is hitting you now, but you're ashamed, so you don't want to put it in the group. Then there's another lady you can speak to, or there's another guy you can speak to. Because it's not just females, we're mixed. You've got brothers, you've got sisters, you've got mothers, you've got fathers. We're all one big family. Um, so honestly, it was literally my husband, my kids. I can't even give my mom that much credit, but my mother was there. So she especially helped with the baby to keep her distracted and stuff, because post op you have a lot of pain. Um, but the emotional support, my mother didn't know how to support me. My husband's my husband. They don't understand what you're going through. They try, but they don't. So really, the only place I could turn to was our support group. And yeah.
I love just listening the way you described it because it really warms my heart. I never wanted it to be my support group, but it's our support group and we are a family. And what I love about our support group is that I don't feel it as a big burden on me that I need to respond to everybody's messages. And I purposely don't because I love the way how everybody just they're there for you. So you're so right. It is an amazing group, and I'm so glad that you did find it and that you are, you do see it as a safe space. So what I wanted to ask you is you again, it's a lonely journey unless you have somewhere where you can reach out to and you can and engage with people. And I think there's never any judgment, or you don't feel afraid to ask questions. But how has that changed your outlook in terms of the way you see, what does it mean to be strong, or how you look at your life, for example?
Well, it does redefine strength on a whole nother level because we always make this joke to say that women and men are both strong. But there's a difference because men are physically strong, where women are emotionally strong. But when you get to a cancer challenge, you're not strong. The strength is gone. And you literally can't say, I'm strong enough, I can do this. You literally rely on other people to carry you through. So it's not your own strength. You're relying on other people's strength to strengthen you. Yes, we have God as well, that I believe He channels the strength via other people because He knows that you're weak. So He knows you need A, B, and C, and they will have enough strength to carry you. So, as I'm saying, for me, it's a whole different description now. I can't describe strength like how I would say, yes, men have got physical strength and women's got inner strength. It's like when you're battling something so severe, it redefines everything in your life, literally everything in your life. You find a different purpose for life because you do. I can't say I know of a single person who's been diagnosed who didn't go through depression. I do not know of a single person. Everybody, it hits you somewhere along the line. And it's either they put you on medication or some people have enough faith, they say, okay, God will help me through this, and it's just a battle between them and God, and they handle it. But in my experience and the people that I've come in contact with, that's never been the case. It's always you have to have a community that's gone through something similar that can relate to your pain, the heartache, the thoughts that go through your mind, because who else will understand
Mm.
what you're going through? So it really changes the whole description of strength.
How do you see your outlook on life at the moment? And I mean, I love what you said about it's okay to have depression and it's okay to go through something post the cancer journey. I mean, my the reality hit me only 5 years after my cancer journey, when I realized, oh, okay, because you're in survival mode, right? So, but if you look at your outlook of life as a whole now, what do you see? What do you see as different? What are you more grateful for? What do you do differently? You spoke a bit about purpose. Have you defined your purpose?
So before I was diagnosed, my focus was just pay off your debt, pay off your house, raise your family. You need to get them through school, get them through getting married because it's two girls, and focus on my career. So I'm still very career driven, but since the pain started, my work quality slapped and I couldn't focus because of the severe pain. So I had to start relying on other people. I had to employ more people to take more responsibility off my shoulders to where now it's a little bit sad to say, but there is some sort of fear that remains with you. And I can't say that the fear is necessarily a bad thing because you appreciate every single day with your family more than what you would previously. It's almost like, yes, you do take every day as if it could be your last, but it's not really as if it could be your last because now you know that your life could literally end because of a disease that you've been diagnosed with. Um, you could wake up tomorrow and it can be back. I'm not saying it will be back, but you live as if it can return and it can shorten your life. So, did you treat your husband the way he's supposed to be treated, that he deserves to be treated? Your kids, even my mother, my colleagues. So, I don't know how to explain it, but it like you become a different person in total. You're not the same person anymore. So like there was different things I used to chase after, like I'm saying, paying off debt. When now it's making sure I've got enough money for medical expenses instead of worrying about paying off debt. It's not like, can I pay off my house? It's more like, do I have backup savings? Should I go through the same thing? Because I don't want this to become my family's problem, because then you're putting them in debt. But also just to appreciate the smaller things in life that you never really appreciated that much, because you take things for granted. You do take things for granted. I mean, when you come post op, you can't even have a shower because of you having that intense pain. Now, when you jump in the shower, you actually enjoy it way more. So, yeah, it's the smaller things in life, I think, just matters a lot more now. So, and I try and teach my new girls at work as well that some things it's petty. There's bigger things in life. You don't have to argue and fight about every small thing, because someone's life can be taken the next day. Not via cancer specifically, but in any way. Your life could be shortened in any way, and you don't know when someone's last day on earth will be. So I try and treat people with as much love and respect as I can since then. So yeah, it's definitely changed me as a person.
That's beautiful. You meet someone tomorrow, just say, and they've just been diagnosed. What do you say to them?
Well, if I meet them in person, the first thing I'd probably do is just hold them tight and tell them it's okay to cry. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to talk, I'm here. Whatever you're battling, you're not alone. There's always someone. Obviously, I would introduce them to the group and say, listen, it's not just me. We've actually got a group. We're a family. So if you want to join, let me know. I'll speak to Belinda and we'll add you onto the group, because you need support. You really, really need support. Um, there is another lady that I know of that's just been diagnosed as well with bone marrow cancer. And my heart breaks for her because she's younger than me. She's turning 30 this year. But she's got three girls. So she's had kids also. But the only thing I do say to someone that's been newly diagnosed is you're not alone. There is always someone that will walk the journey with you. There's someone that will stand in the gap and pray with you. There's someone that will hold you, that will hug you tightly when you need that hug. There's someone that will bring you a cup of coffee with a smile. There's reason for life. You might not see it, but there's always someone who needs you. There's a reason why you go through the things you go through. And it might be to help someone else through their journey. That might be the reason. It might be to focus more on family, friends. It might be to change you as a person, but to remember that you're not alone and that there are people that will help and support you during your journey. Because our journeys are not the same, but people can relate because there's people
Mm.
that's gone through similar experiences and they can hold your hand through your journey.
How has your relationship with your family and friends changed since your diagnosis?
So it probably is a little bit more personal because there's people in my family that I didn't know had cancer experiences. And since I opened up about mine, they started talking about theirs. Um, so it's sad because some of them were never able to have kids and they've gone through exactly the same thing that I went through, but just before they could have kids. So my privilege was that I already had my kids before I was diagnosed. Um, but I've become more sensitive to people in my family specifically, friends as well, where before someone would just be like complaining about being sick all the time, and you'll be like, this person just complains, that's all they do. But now when they complain, you actually take it serious. It's not like, oh, okay, yeah, fine, go see a doctor. It's more like, okay, tell me what's your symptoms. Have you gotten it checked out? You're more sincere in the things that you do, you're genuine. It's not just surface conversation, it goes very deep to the point where you really, really care and you really want to support the person because there's been someone to help me and support me. Why should they be alone going through these things? You don't know what challenges people are facing day to day. Someone can drive past you and they can look so angry and upset, but you don't know what if they've just been diagnosed. And that's how they're trying to process something that they've just found out. So, like I said, it's not just my family or my friends, but it's people in general. I look at them very differently. When I can see someone's not happy, I'll always try and figure out what's the underlying cause of that unhappiness. Is there something that we don't know that this person is facing, that there's a challenge that they need to deal with? Because you just don't know. You just don't know, and you don't know what mental state people are in. And the sad part is a lot of people that do get diagnosed, they almost become suicidal. And it's very sad. And then they've got no one to talk to explain this is the reason why I'm feeling this way. And if they just had someone to talk to, it would literally pull them away from the suicidal thoughts, telling them there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You're not alone. So yeah, I treat people very differently. My relationship with the family has gotten a lot deeper. Um, yeah, I would say that's how it's changed in the
Does your
past.
husband treat you differently?
Sham, I think he got a shock of his life. I think he really, really got a shock of his life. So he just doesn't want anything to happen to me. He doesn't want our kids to grow up without a mum. It's been very often that we talk about it now. If I tell him, listen, I'm having post-op complications, he's like, okay, what can I help with? Where before I was like the run-around person, so I would just do everything. I wouldn't ask for help from anyone. I would just, you know how women are in general. We just hands on. We just handle things. We just make it work. You don't ask people for help. You don't tell them your struggles. You just handle things. I think God created us differently. But when something like this happens, you swallow your pride and you realize I can't pick my 2-year-old up because I've got intense pain. It's like, babe, I'm sitting down. Can you please bring the baby to me? But before you would go and pick your child up and just carry them. But there's been a huge shift. Even with the kids, there's been a huge shift. So I don't think they really understand because we didn't tell them anything because they're still small. But you could see because of how daddy is behaving that they followed his example. And if I tell them, guys, it's a little bit too much, calm down, instantly they calm down. So I don't know what causes it, but you can see there is change in behavior. Because I also went through an episode where I almost lost my husband, and it scares the living daylights out of you. So I can imagine he felt exactly the same thing. And now it's like, it's not like you're having a flashback, but you almost have a fear that you could lose him at any given moment. Like they could close their eyes and just not open their eyes again, and then they're gone. And then time is up. Then it's too late to say sorry. It's too late to hold them, to give them another kiss. So if I had to leave home now without kissing him, he would tell me, you know, you didn't kiss me in the morning. Where before it was like, oh, well, whatever, I'll see you tonight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think in my experience, it has tightened our relationship a lot more. So all your nitty-gritty fights over the things that's not important, all those fights you have in relationships that's not really even necessary, those things don't even happen now. It's more like you overlook those things and you carry on. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, carry on. So your bond just becomes a lot closer than what it was before.
It's crazy that we have to wait for such a major event in our life to appreciate, reset, refocus, and and then really just slow down. Because I bet you're far more conscious of your health. You probably try and manage your stress a little bit less. All of that. But why is it that you have to get diagnosed with a life-threatening disease before you kind of get slapped and woken up on how you should be living your life, right?
I think it's like a wake up call to some
Absolutely.
people. It's like, get your life in order.
Mm,
Even, I mean, who does the last will and testament in today's life?
Yeah.
Nobody worries about things like that. Now I've got 18-year-old girls working with me and they're like, should I have it? I'm like, yes. You've started a full-time job, you get that thing in place. So,
Yes.
but I mean, before I didn't even have one. I'm like,
Mm.
it's not important. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm going to live long. But that's not guaranteed. It's not
Mm.
guaranteed to anyone that you're going to live long.
Chantal, my last question. Words of wisdom from you now that you have a different outlook in life, now that you are living with cancer, because you never stop living with cancer, right? What would you what would you like to share? So anyone that has been diagnosed, you've kind of touched on that, but also what about to friends and family of people that have just been diagnosed? What would you say to them?
So, because my cancer was relating to cervical cancer, I think for the first 6 months, I was telling all the people that I spoke to, your girls need to go for the HPV vaccine. Please make sure it's done. When they come of age, I think it's 21 years old, you make sure they go for their pap smears. If you've been active before that, go for your pap smears and go check it, because the quicker they catch it, the quicker they can get rid of it. It doesn't mean that you're going to have abnormal cells. But the thing is, you have to make people aware of this thing that's going around that you've got no control over, and you don't want to do it too late. I'm grateful in my case it was still early stages, but if I didn't discover it, if I didn't have the bleeding episode, what would have happened? So I try and get them to just go for the screening, go for the vaccination, and try and prevent it as much as possible. But for people that's been newly diagnosed, be it with cervical cancer, be it with any other type of cancer, I have to be honest. So I'll tell people the journey is tough. It's not an easy journey, but you don't have to be alone. You don't have to be alone. Unfortunately, some people don't survive it, and some people do survive it. So that's where my faith comes in. And I tell people, if you're a believer, you will be reunited with your family. So I've had to walk the path with a few people already where they've lost people to cancer. But in the last stages, I would make sure that I at least have the conversation with them once about life after this and where they're going. Are you sure you know where you're going? Because if you know where you're going and you are saved, you will be reunited with your family. And the life after this life is pain free. So you don't have to go through this forever. And if you've seen people's facial expressions, when it's a part that you don't want to deal with, but as they're leaving, you can see it's almost like peace comes upon them. It's not fear. And then you
Mm.
know that person is okay. But for us that are strong enough where our bodies can fight and resist, there is a support group out there. You don't have to do this alone. It is very hard, it's almost impossible to do it by yourself. And Belinda's team is excellent. The group is fabulous. It's really what a person needs. It's not the same as your cancer support groups that you get out there, it's completely different. This is what you need. This is what you need. You need people that will stand in the gap, hold your hand, pray with you, guide you, and just be there. Sometimes you just need someone on the other side that will just listen. You don't need counseling. You just need someone to listen to you. So you could just offload what you're going through. Just someone to listen. And
Mm.
that's what we're there for. I'm not trying to market it. I'm not trying to advertise it, guys,
I love
but
it.
it really, really does help. The support is genuine. There's nothing fake in there. I mean, if you really don't like it, you can leave the group, but experience it. Join the group. Come and see what we have to offer. You're not alone. And most of the people will actually go as far as to meeting you in person, getting a cup of coffee, sitting down with you, walking through your journey with you. You don't have to be alone. We are a family. But yeah, it's hard. It's really, really tough out there. Once you've been diagnosed, the things that you face, the things that you go through, it's very, very hard. And if you don't have a support structure at home, it's almost impossible. You feel like you're gonna lose your mind. I was also put on medication for depression. I went through the same because I don't have anyone that will support us. I had a baby. My mom's partially disabled. She can't do what she wants to do. So where was I going to turn to? Where
Mm,
where would I have been should there
mm,
not have been such a good group? And it's
mm,
literally because of my one friend, and I've known my friend for many years. If she wasn't in touch with you guys, how was I ever going to get introduced to it? I was still going to be by myself, struggling to
mm,
face it. I'm not on any medication now. I don't need the medication because I've got a group that can help me, that can counsel me if need be. But
mm,
they don't preach. It's not those type of groups where they tell you do A, B, and C. It's more we're here for you. We're here to walk this journey with you. You are not
mm.
alone. It's okay to be sick. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. Those emotions are normal. There's nothing wrong with it. But just know that you're not alone. You are not alone.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And by the way, HPV vaccines are also available for men, not just women. So, yeah, we must remind the men out there that they also need to have the vaccine because often it's spread from the male side.
Yes.
Chantal, it's been such a huge honor listening to your stories, listening to your journey, listening to just the steps that you've walked, but also all the wisdom that you've gained from this. And I love the fact that the group means so much to you because it really does warm my heart that we are making a difference in each other's lives, and it's definitely a family effort. So thank you for your time. I wish you well with the rest of your journey and just strength to the rest of for the rest of your journey. And I know you'll keep us updated as you go along. But you're looking gorgeous and very happy.
Thank
So I'm
you.
grateful for that too. Thank you.
Thank you.